As we begin today's meeting, we would like to acknowledge that we are on the gathering here today of the Treaty Territory of the Mississaugas and the Credits First Nation, and before them the territory of the Haudenosaunee, Huron, and Wendat. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other global Indigenous people that now call Brampton their home. We are honored to live, work, and enjoy this land. Please all rise for the singing of our national anthem, to be followed by a moment of personal reflection. Thank you. Welcome to our regular council meeting of February 6, 2019. All members of council are present here today except for Councillor Singh, who is away due to the passing of his grandmother. On behalf of all members of council and the city, I offer Councillor Singh and his family our heartfelt condolences and sympathies. Approval of the agenda. Members of council, there are a few agenda changes identified in the package in front of you. I will ask the city clerk to review the changes for today's agenda since its publication last Friday.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there is only one addition to the, or one change to the agenda on your desks. That's item 18.1, a briefing report from the Office of the Chief Administrative Officer regarding government relations matters. Those materials were distributed electronically to members of council yesterday. They'll be posted online today, and they're on your desks this morning. Thank you.
Are there any additions, changes, or deletions to the agenda? Councillor Palashi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two items that I would like to add to today's agenda, both under new business. But one of them, the first one, I'd also like to vary the order of the agenda to permit you, Mr. Mayor, to read and present the following three proclamations at the February 6th council meeting immediately after consideration of the consent motion, and permit any attending recipients to up to 2 minutes to respond to council. First proclamation is Day of Remembrance and Action on Islamophobia, January 29th, 2019. Number 2 is Black History Month, February 1st to the 28th, 2019, proclaimed for the Wakanda Outreach Center. And number 3, the coldest night of the year week, February 15th to the 23rd, 2019, proclaimed for Regeneration Outreach Community. So that's one item that I'd like to add. The second item is proclamations at City Council meetings, and I have a motion to the effect once we get to that. So, Mr. Clerk, I believe the first one is 16 point.
For you, Mr. Chair, 16.2. The second proposed item is 16.3, and if the motion carries to vary the order in 16.2, it would be considered after item 4 on today's agenda.
And they require 2/3.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Mayor.
Do we seek the 2/3 now, or do we wait till the...
We can wait and do it as a package if council.
Okay. Councillor Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to add a community safety update from the chief.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be proposed item 16.4, and if it does get added, there is a report that staff have prepared, an information report that will be distributed to members of council for consideration.
Councillor Fortini.
Thank you, through the mayor. Under 16.6, I'd like to add on the new business discussion on the chief of staff of the mayor. For the chief of staff of the mayor, just a discussion about an in-camera.
Okay.
We don't have to go in camera, that's, everything's fine.
So council's
You'll
procedural
add it
rules,
in camera.
if there's a closed session item, which I understand then you're proposing,
No, it's not closed. No
It's
closed.
not?
I'm
Sorry.
not asking for a closed session.
Sure, just tell them what it is, to allow.
Just
them
to allow that the chief of staff should be in closed sessions with us, the mayor, only the mayors.
my apologies, so it's a public session,
Yep.
new business item about attendance in closed session.
Absolutely. 16.6.
So that would be 16.5.
Five,
If it gets
sorry.
added.
Okay, and then I have a motion here, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Williams, that relates to cultural community commemorative opportunities, and particularly one that relates to Black History Month. And so if we could have that added to the agenda as well today. 16.6. All those in favor of the additions? Oh, so Councillor Dillon, you're no longer on the board. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All those in favor? The motions are added. We have a motion moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Willens, to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion carries. Do any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act or any matter to be considered on today's agenda? Seeing none, the clerk will so note for the meeting minutes. We are now ready to move to the next item of public business on today's council agenda, item 3, minutes. I have a motion from Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Willens, that the minutes of the regular city council meeting of January 23rd, 2019 to the council meeting of February 6, 2019 be adopted as published and circulated. All those in favor? Motion carries. Consent motion. The item listed with an asterisk on the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. The consent motion is to adopt this matter on today's agenda without the need for a separate discussion on the item unless a member requests a separate discussion. Does any member wish to add an item or remove an item from the consent motion on the agenda? Councillor Willens.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, through the clerk. Can we add the two items in closed session into consent because they're just discussion, just the minutes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, normally we deal with those procedurally, just that there's a notation. But I understand on one of the items, there is an update in terms of the minutes, so I think the staff's position right now is we should go into close for a very brief moment in time.
Okay. Okay. Seeing no one else, I have a motion from Councillor Willens, seconded by Councillor Bowman, to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor? Motion carries. Now we're at proclamations. And thank you for Councillor Paleshi for making that possible. Now, the first proclamation, we actually had a ceremony here at City Hall on Friday, and we had a great turnout from City Council. I want to thank everyone that attended for Black History Month. And so we read that at the ceremony. We just wanted to have this here also on the council minutes. The Black History Month achieved national recognition in Canada on December 14th, 1995, when the House of Commons unanimously agreed to a motion presented by the Honourable Jean Augustine to recognize February as Black History Month. And Black History Month sought to level the imbalance in historical perspective and has become an important part of our multicultural anti-racism programs. that Black History Month educates Canadians about Black history in Canada, such as the fact that slavery once existed in Canada and that many British loyalists who came here after the American Revolution were Black. Black History Month recognizes the important sacrifices and contributions of the Black people to the development of Canada and to the world. People can help raise awareness and show their support to fight against racial discrimination and intolerance by wearing a black ribbon as a symbol of unity during Black History Month. And this was proclaimed. I, Mayor Patrick Brown, do hereby proclaim the month of February as Black History Month in the city of Brampton. I don't believe there's anyone here to receive this today, given the fact that this was already received on Friday, but I would note we had a beautiful flag raising indoors because the outdoor flagpole was frozen. What's more Canadian than that? But the warmth in the room was obvious, and we're also having a closing ceremony for Black History Month on February 28th. And so I would remind all of Council that we would love to have you there on February 28th. And thank you to Councillor Williams for giving a beautiful speech at the ceremony on Friday. Our next proclamation is in regards to Islamophobia. On Sunday, January 29, 2017, a gunman carried out an act of violence at the Centre Culturel Islamique de Quebec, where men, women, and children were gathered for night prayers in Quebec City. This horrific act of hate took the lives of 6 innocent people, left several others injured, and terrorized an entire community. In the aftermath of this attack, Brampton residents came together, like others across the country, to remember and honor the victims. City Council condemns Islamophobia as it does all other forms of racism, hate, xenophobia, and bigotry, and reaffirms hatred has no place in the city of Brampton. I, Mayor Patrick Brown, on behalf of the Brampton City Council, do hereby proclaim January 29, 2019 as a day of remembrance and action on Islamophobia in the city of Brampton. And so we're going to present this. I know there's some imams who are here today. Okay, so we'll present this to them, or okay, sure. And I just note before I take this over to, I think, Sheikh Fazl, I want to thank the imams for raising this suggestion that we should have this declaration. I know the City of Toronto had a similar declaration, and the fact that we had all of council members proudly in a photo shows a sense of unity in our city against hate. And I think we all remember where we were on January 29th, and I can tell you it was particularly, I felt particularly moved and unnerved by that horrific incident. One of my best friends in childhood is a fellow of Muslim faith from Egypt originally, who was from Mississauga, and just to think that his family felt scared, made me shiver. And I think what came out of that horrible moment was that we all came together, and what was beautiful was that you had people of all faiths wanting to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Muslim community and say that they live in a country that loves and appreciates all our faiths, including the Muslim faith. And I just think it's very appropriate today that the city of Brampton joins the chorus of love for the Muslim community and love for a Canada that is open and celebrates all different perspectives of faith. And so with that, I'll present this proclamation to Sheikh Fazl.
I want to thank Mayor Brown and City Council for making this proclamation possible. We made this request last Tuesday, and we were pleasantly surprised that this could be done just days after that request. The Muslim community of Brampton appreciates what the mayor and the entire council is doing, and from our part, we pledge to continue to work with the mayor and the entire council to make this city a better place for everyone in Brampton. And we congratulate council and the mayor for showing leadership not only for Brampton but for Canada as a whole. And we are hoping that more municipalities across Canada can follow the leadership of Brampton. This is a great city. We are proud to be part of Brampton, and we will continue to work to make this city a better place for everyone. Thank you very much.
And thank you. And actually, maybe Sheikh Fazl, maybe you could introduce the members of the Muslim community that are here with you, because I think there's a wide cross section of the city that is here from the Muslim faith.
Yes, we have Ashfaq, or Jabal Ashfaq from the Ahmadiyya community. We also have Sheikh Omar Subidar, one of the leading religious figures in Brampton and across the GTA. And we have Faisal Tahir from the Islamic Forum of Canada. And we have Hussein bin Halim, also from the Islamic Forum of Canada. And we also want to mention Urs here, the work that she did to make all of this possible, and we recognize her great contribution to this city.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I would note, one of the beautiful things about Brampton is I've noticed this, that all members of council visit the local masjids, and the fact that we all have an opportunity to learn about each other's different faiths is just a wonderful thing, and what's more Canadian than that. And I know I've seen a member of City Council, every single member of City Council in a local masjid. And so I think that's unique and special about the warmth of our city. So thank you for being here today. Our last proclamation is what is to come on February 15th. The coldest night of the year, in support of Regeneration Outreach Community, whereas Regeneration Outreach Community serves the homeless and those at risk homelessness in the city of Brampton. The coldest night of the year fundraiser is on February 23rd, 2019. And whereas the coldest night of the year will raise awareness regarding homelessness in Brampton, as well as engage our citizens in raising funds to support Regeneration Outreach Community and their work with homeless people, I, Mayor Patrick Brown, do hereby proclaim February 15th to February 23rd as the coldest night of the year week in the city of Brampton. And I would just note that the actual walk is on February 23rd, but we'll be raising the flag at Brampton City Hall on February 15th. And so all members of council would be welcome and encouraged to attend. And I want to thank Councillor Jeff Bowman, who's had a real passion on supporting Regeneration. I know he's going to be participating in the walk. And so if any other members of council want to support this event, speak to Ted Brown. And we're really excited about the partnership the city might have in the months and years ahead with affordable housing, and this idea that was already raised by Councillor Bowman. And so you have a council table that wants to work together to combat homelessness. And on that note, we'll present this proclamation to Ted Brown, who, by the way, has no relation. I wish I was related to him, because he's such an all-star in our community, but there is no relation.
I want to thank you for this opportunity to come and just share a little bit this morning about Regeneration. We rent space just blocks away from here at Grace United Church. We serve some of the most vulnerable in our city. Some of these people are homeless, and some are at risk of homelessness, and those living in extreme poverty. One of the greatest growth of people group that we're having is actually seniors coming through our doors that simply don't have enough to eat after paying the rent. Our services happen 365 days a year, and we served, actually this morning, we served over 100 people that trudged through the ice pellets and that and came in, and some of them actually helped serve this morning because volunteers couldn't make it. That's who we are. We serve about 160 different lunches. We're open 365 days a year. We have many different services and many different connections with services here in the city through the Central West Lynn, through chiropractors and many other services like CMHA as well. One of the things that we're seeing is a decrease in funding from government sources, and that's a huge concern for us. We know it's a reality, and one of the ways that we raise awareness and raise funds is through this coldest night of the year. It's our largest fundraiser of the year. We anticipate raising $120,000 this year, and with your help, we're going to see that happen. To date, over the last 6 years, we've raised $444,000 for our work here in the city, and so we're very thankful. I know that we have Councillor Bowman, who has been one of the champions for us here in the city, but I'm also very thankful that Councillor Wellens is joining with us, and Councillor Vicente and Councillor Santos for joining with us on the walk. I encourage every one of you to join with us. We'd appreciate your support that way. And I just got to kind of end with Councillor Bowman really needs your support in this regard, and you can donate to him, but I would like it more, so on my page. So I also just have, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I have coldest night toques for every one of you here at council. So I
Thank you.
present that to you. So, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Ted. Okay. Announcements. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Are there any delegations? Seeing none. Reports from corporate officials. Any reports from the CAO, Community Services, Corporate Services, or Planning and Development Services? Seeing none. We have already dealt with items 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, 8.6 on the consent agenda. Now we are on to committee reports. We're now at item 10, committee reports or minutes. We have 2 committee reports in the form of minutes on today's agenda. Under council's meeting procedures, the committee or section chair introduces the committee report or minutes and summarizes the matters considered and now brought forward to council today for ratification. So, Councilor Medeiros, you chaired the Planning and Development Committee, which met on January 28th. The committee minutes are here for approval. I now pass the chair to you to lead council in the consideration of the committee minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, you have before you the minutes of the Planning Committee, Planning and Development Committee of January 28th. Are there any questions or comments? Nope. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, then moved by Councilor Medeiros, seconded by Councilor Frattini, that the minutes of the Planning and Development Committee meeting of January 28, 2019, to the council meeting of February 6, 2019 be received, and the recommendations be approved as outlined in the subject minutes. All those in favor? Motion carries. Members of council, you have before, seeing no... Yep. Yes, so we have next, we have the minutes of Committee of Council. Committee of Council met on January 30th. The committee minutes are here for council approval. I'll now pass the chair to the respective section chairs in order of consideration during the committee to lead council in the consideration of the committee recommendations. Councillor Dillon chaired the Economic Development and Culture section. Councillor Singh chaired the Corporate Services section. Councillor Vicente chaired the Public Works and Engineering section. Councillor Santos chaired the Community Services section. Council will then consider a motion to approve the recommendations in its entirety after all section chairs have concluded their summaries and any resulting council questions or debate has finished. So Councillor Dillon first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the minutes for the Economic Development and Culture section are before you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll pass it back to the mayor for ratification.
This is for them. Okay, Councillor Singh. No, he's not here, so Councillor Santos will cover it.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, members of council, you have before you the minutes from the Corporate Services Committee. Do any members have any questions or comments on the committee minutes and recommendations? Seeing none, I pass it back to you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Vicente chaired the Public Works and Engineering section.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of council, you have before you the minutes from the Public Works and Engineering section of the meeting, beginning on page 11, which also includes a discussion on looking at photo radar and reducing speed limits and traffic calming measures. Do any members have any questions?
No?
Seeing none, I turn it back to
Councilor Williams on the board.
Councilor
Okay, Councillor
Williams.
Williams.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I was just wondering if, I know I had sent you a message, just wondering if you can clarify if anybody on, in staff is a part of the Institute of Traffic Engineers?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I am a fellow of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and a number of our staff are. It's an organization we're quite actively involved with.
Oh, okay. So that means then all of the recommendations through the traffic calming pieces you will be looking at all of those? So including like chagrins, choker, all of those pieces?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we would certainly include that. There are other organizations we look to as well, including the National Association of Transportation City Officials, NACTO, is quite a active organization also on traffic calming. But ITE is certainly the one of the organizations that provides most of the research and talks about what other communities have been successful with.
Oh, I was just wondering.
Thank you, Councillor. Do any other members have questions?
Seeing none, we'll deal with Councillor Santos, who chaired the Community Services section.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, members of council, you have before you the minutes from the Community Services Committee. Do any members of council have any questions or comments regarding the minutes or the recommendations? Seeing none, I pass it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So now we have a motion from Councillor Santos, seconded by Councillor Vicente, that the minutes of the committee council meeting January 30th, 2019 to the council meeting of February 6th, 2019 be received. The recommendations CWO 50, 2019, CWO 78, 2019 be approved as outlined in the subject minutes. All those in favor? Motion carries. There is no unfinished business, no correspondence, no notices of motion, petitions. Now we're on to 16.1 referred matters list. And just the motion to receive, moved by Councillor Will and seconded by Councillor Bowman. Hands, all those in favor? Motion carries. And then we have the new additions, right? Okay. So 16.2, Councillor Palashi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for reading out those proclamations. I think you did a fantastic job, and we had some fantastic recipients of those proclamations here today. And I'd like to see how we can continue to achieve this going forward. Previous council had made a decision on proclamations, but I think this council may and hopefully recognizes the need to have these reinstated, manageably reinstated back into the agendas. I know that staff is currently looking at, they're currently bringing back a report to council that includes this, a small portion of that report. But I think on the interim period, we needed something to try and help us achieve what I think we all want here. So I have a motion that reflects that on the board, and I'm happy to read that. Whereas the City of Brampton recognizes the importance of proclamation as a ceremonial document issued and signed by the mayor on behalf of the city and council to officially recognize the importance of a person, an event, a campaign, or an organization for a certain day, week, or month. And whereas the current procedure bylaw states that proclamations issued shall be listed on a council agenda identifying the nature of the proclamation and receiving organization or representative for reference purpose only, as a result of an amendment to the procedural bylaw during the last term of council, and whereas this council deems it appropriate to reintroduce an opportunity for proclamations issued by the city to be read during city council meetings as a means to recognition and community awareness. And whereas the city's protocol office is developing an enhanced proclamation program for communicating city-approved proclamations as part of a broader community recognition program to allow the greater public awareness and promotion. Therefore, be it resolved that until such time as the protocol office reports back on the enhanced proclamation program for council consideration. A temporary provision be accommodated at city council meetings to permit the reading and presentation of city-approved proclamations, including a 2-minute speaking opportunity for proclamation recipients. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Bowman is the seconder, and just to say briefly, we've only had 3 requests for proclamations since I've been mayor, and so I don't think it happens too often, but when it does, I think it's a unique opportunity to celebrate something good happening in our community. So I thank Councillor Paleshi for putting this forward so that we can, in a proper procedural manner, have this acknowledgement. So, all those in favor? Motion carries. The next added agenda item,
Is Councillor Dillon, Community Safety?
Councillor Dillon.
Yes, I think the chief has an update on community safety, and I'll just pass it to him.
Sure. Through the mayor, we have Alain Norman, our manager of emergency management, and Razmeen Saeed, our community safety advisor here. If you have any questions for the report, they can provide a brief verbal update as well to start.
Can we just get an update?
Yeah, sure. I'll bring them
Yeah.
up.
Morning, through you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you very much. We have prepared a statement that you've got in front of you, a little report, but the idea is that the community safety was really started as an initiative late in 2017. We had a few meetings in 2018 with the Brampton Community Safety Advisory Committee, but with the election and all that, the committee was closed, and then we are in the process of reopening and restarting it in the near future. In the meantime, myself and Ms. Said, we have been working closely with various agencies. The biggest part of our work right now is to reach out to agencies that are actually doing community safety and try to have a concerted effort. We find that there's a lot of people, a lot of organizations out there that are working towards better community safety, but everybody seems to be more in a bit of a silo. Our goal is to bring everybody together so that we have common themes and common efforts for the resources that we have. We've been doing a lot of work, particularly with our GIS, in creating the Geo Hub, which we're aiming to have as a one-stop shop, one place where people can go, get a map, click, and find out what is happening, what are the incidents, the situations that are causing issues related to safety and community safety, but also who is actually working to resolve those issues. What are the agencies out there that are actually contributing to helping make Brampton a safer place. We've been working on a number of initiatives. We're working with many different committees. Certainly we're working with the chief on the hotspot aspect for the fire prevention. We're working with road safety on various aspects as well. But one of the things that we're working also very closely is with the Region of Peel. The Community Safety Committee, which was created late in 2018 and has just finalized their terms of reference. We sit on that committee as representative for the City of Brampton, and we will make sure that the interests of the City of Brampton are presented at that committee. I think the rest, if you want to go to the report, I'd be happy to address any questions that may come up.
Okay, Councillor Santos.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you, Alain, and also Razmeen, for this report. There's one piece that's missing from the report, and that's the fact that you have gone over and above and attended various town hall meetings in the evenings during the week that Councillor Vicente and I have been having specifically on neighborhood and community safety. So on behalf of both of us, I wanted to thank you for that extra initiative you're taking and look forward to more work on this important topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't understand why this is in front of us. Why this was. Are you speaking directly to the report? Is there an ask in here? We just had it handed to us, so I don't.
Yeah,
I can't find an ask.
Mr.
not
Mayor,
sure.
there's no, this is an information, we were asked at Community Council last week to prepare an update report on where we are with community safety, what we've been doing. We aim to give a report on a quarterly basis, but this report was asked for us last week, and we just put it together very quickly so that council would have some information on the work that we're currently doing.
Oh, okay,
It's just an information report.
okay.
It's update.
And then Alain, you sound like you're under the weather. Are you under the weather?
A little bit.
I don't think you should be here. You're not your chipper usual self. Something's wrong.
I'm fine. Thank you very much for your concern.
I'm happy to move receipt of the report. I guess I'm a little bit confused and not fully understanding about the community safety, Brampton Community Safety Advisory Committee. I don't recall a direct shutdown and then a reestablishment. I know staff requested that we make changes, but council's direction was to continue. So I don't know if there was a direct shutdown. As far as I'm concerned, there may be new committee members appointed by council, from council now, but the old committee members, the citizens, would still be on that committee, are they not?
And I may through you, Mr. Mayor, I may refer to the clerk for this, but basically it's a process that when there's an election, there's a changeover, maybe Mr. Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So that advisory committee staff had recommended in December that committee not continue. However, council passed a resolution to ensure that committee be reestablished. So the citizen appointments for the previous term to that committee were only until the end of the term.
Oh, okay.
So we are in the process right now through the Citizen Appointments Committee to review the citizen applications to reappoint to that committee.
Okay.
And to you, we intend to continue to work with the committee definitely, very actively,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure, great, and hopefully, well, there's many things that I think are should be on the items list for when that committee is reestablished and takes its first meeting, but this is kind of that top priority overall, so thank you.
Definitely. Yeah, and we did attend a lot of the town hall meetings, and, you know, during the election campaign, we've heard loud and clear what the citizens were saying, and we're working very closely with all of council to make all those things we discussed at all those town meetings happen. We're going to work as close as we can to do that.
Okay. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thanks for the report. It's a helpful overview, especially me being a new councillor, to see what you've done and what you're planning to do in the future. But, you know, I am the chair of the Community Safety Advisory Committee, so I'm really hoping that moving forward, where the committee is heavily included in the city's plans moving forward for community safety, and a part of that discussion with regards to traffic calming, you know, how to make the community a safer place for young people, old people, everyone. And I'm also hoping that we can sit down very soon, just to start talking about what the next steps are going to be and how we can start kind of guiding the committee and in the direction we need to go. It is my understanding that it was a little bit lost last year, and so I really do not want to see that happen this year. We need to be really focused and specific and very intentional in our steps moving forward, because community safety is top priority for everyone, it seems, so, yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, we'll be happy to sit down with you
Yeah,
and bring
let's
you up
book
to date.
something pretty soon.
Thank you, Councillor Fortini.
Thank you, through the mayor. Thank you for the report. And thank you for the town halls. It was amazing. We are working with the region, which is good. What I don't see on this list, we have that Brampton Watch Group. They've been very active in the last 4 years. And I think it's time we put them on there, because they've been doing a lot of work in the community, going out, trying to get signs. And we gotta bring, you know, I think I'd like to add them on the safety, I think, if we can.
Through you,
Last
Mr.
time they tried, and we're going back and forth with sign and the cost, and, you know, and any group that gets involved is better than nothing, you know, and so, yeah. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are working with Neighborhood Watch. We could have had a very long list of agencies. We probably have 30 to 40 agencies that we're already connected with. Definitely, the regeneration group that was here earlier this morning is one of them that we're working with as well. So there's a lot of this. We didn't want to go too extensive, but Neighborhood Watch is an important group that we are working with.
Yes, thank you.
And to Councillor Fortini, I think that would be maybe a separate item down the road if we're looking at a way to expand the scope of Neighborhood Watch. But I think the response was that there's already some initial work being done together. Councillor Willens.
Just quickly, good report. But thank you, Yolande, for that. I was only at the Rose Theatre briefly yesterday, but I happened to be there when for the tornadoes that hit in Ottawa, which is close to me because I do have property up in the Ottawa Valley, so it was nice to see what they were doing up there. And it was nice to see that they referenced back to what you're doing here in the city of Brampton. So again, thank you very much for the great work you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we have a motion that's moved by Councillor Dillon, seconded by Councillor Fortini, that a report from a Norman manager of Brampton Emergency Management Office, Fire and Emergency Services, dated February 6, 2019, to the council meeting of February 6, 2019, Community Safety, Brampton, all wards be received. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, now 16. Yes, Councillor Fortini, 16.5. The floor is yours.
Thank you, through the mayor. So I asked to add this up on the agenda, as Councillor Dillon last week did put forward a motion that we get our in-camera way a little bit ahead, not in the last minute. And I believe the chief of staff for the mayor should be involved in every in-camera sessions, because a lot of times if the mayor's not here, he should be able to brief him. So that's why I want to request that he's the only allowed in with the mayor, not our staff, only him. So.
Thank you, Councillor Fortini. I would note, I'm sure my chief of staff appreciates this. He has not asked for this. I think he enjoys being away from me about half an hour a week, but I do think practically this makes sense, and thank you for putting it forward.
So do I need a motion there, Pierre, or just vote?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so staff have drafted a motion. If this is your intent, Councillor Fortini, it will require a seconder, that the chief of staff for the mayor's office be provided access to closed session of city council and its committees, and that the protocol with regard to closed session be amended accordingly. And staff intend to report next week on the issue of access to closed session documents as discussed last week.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Medeiros. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, and the next item is mine. Okay. The item that I've raised is in regards to, and can we put the motion on the screen? Councillor Williams had a great suggestion in honor of Black History Month about honoring former Alderman John Sadrach, and to report back on what opportunities there would be for a commemoration. And one of the reasons I was really enthralled with her suggestion is I believe that modern history, that Brampton history, we celebrate people that have made unique contributions, not just 150 years ago, but today. And I think there are people from the various communities that make up the mosaic of Brampton that frankly we should celebrate. Celebrate how they broke down barriers or set a fine example. And I think, frankly, we don't do enough to celebrate our history. You know, I look over at Councillor Willens, and I think it's a beautiful thing that we celebrate the contributions that his father have made, and there's recognition of people that have helped create Brampton's success in history. And I think we need to tell our story more. Sometimes in Canadians we are more polite. We don't celebrate our history enough. I look over at the U.S. where there's a real recognition of their history, and there's many things we wouldn't want to copy, but one thing that I think we should see an example of is being proud of our history, being proud of the contributions that those have made before us. And so I think given how Brampton is such a beautiful mosaic of the world is in Brampton, this is a motion that would get the ball started with the recognition of John Shadrach, but the motion, what I suggested to Councillor Williams is that we build it into a broader policy, and the staff will report back to us on how we could have appropriate cultural community commemorative opportunities. And I also spoke to the CEO in a manner that doesn't affect in any shape or form the sponsorship opportunities that they're already looking at, because obviously there are some naming rights that have a monetary value for the city, and so the staff report back would be at areas that the city is not looking at as a potential sponsorship opportunity. So this might be a street or a park that where there may be an opportunity. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Mayor, this is a really great initiative. I think, you know, in our community, and in the Black community, we're often feel like we're being overlooked, and the contributions that we have made are not recognized in history. So I'm fairly sure that many didn't even know John Shadrach and know who he was, and know he was the first Black alderman and we just recently found out that he had passed away in November of last year. So, you know, I think it's a great opportunity for us to recognize him, and his family still lives in Brampton and in Toronto area. So I'm really excited to know that we are going to be doing something to recognize him as the first Black alderman, and encourage many other people of color to go for it and run and take a chance. Also, having this as an opportunity or some kind of framework to allow us to recognize really great contributors in Brampton history, I think is going to be so important and so helpful for us moving forward. So I'm so fully supportive of this motion, and thank you, Mayor Bram, for, you know, taking the charge and getting this all moving and shaking.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, now we're back to Section 18. Our next item is Government Relations Matters. Materials have been distributed electronically to Council yesterday by the CEO's office, and at the start of today's meeting by the City Clerk's office. Andre Hoffman, Office of the CEO, is here to respond to any questions from Council. Do any members have questions regarding the information provided? Seeing none, I then have a motion from Councillor Santos, seconded by Councillor Paleshi, that the briefing report from the Office of the CEO to the Council meeting of February 6, 2019, Government Relations Matters, be received. All those in favor, motion carries. Public question period. This is where we invite members of the public to come forward to the podium and ask any questions about any decision made at Council at today's meeting. There's a 15-minute limit to questions and answers. Are there any questions from the public about a decision that was made by Council at today's meeting? If so, please come forward and state your name for the record and your question succinctly related to one of Council's decisions made at today's meeting. Seeing none, we are off to bylaws. We're now at the portion of the meeting dealing with the adoption of city bylaws to give effect to Council's decisions made at this meeting and previous meetings. I have a motion by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Bowman. All those in favor? Motion carries. Our next item of business is item 21, closed session business. I have a motion from Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Bowman, to move into closed session to deal with the following items. Minutes, closed session, City Council, January 23rd. Minutes, closed session, Committee of Council, January 30th. All those in favor? Motion. Just minutes. Yeah, Councillor Williams already asked for that. So I don't think we need a break. Can we just go right into closed session? Okay, thank you. All those in favor, motion carries. In the continuing interest of transparency and open government, I will report in the public session on any outcomes from today's closed session business. As a result of our closed session today, I wish to report the following. The minutes from closed session City Council regular meeting January 23rd, 2019. These minutes were acknowledged by Council. And 21.2 minutes closed session Committee of Council January 30th, 2019. These minutes were acknowledged by Council. So our next item of business is item 22, the confirming bylaw. I have a motion by Councillor Williams and Councillor Santos to approve the confirming bylaw to confirm the proceedings and decisions from this meeting. All those in favor? Motion carries. Our last item of business is item number 23, adjournment. Thank you, members, for your respectful consideration decisions here today, and thank you for staff for your information and advice. Before we adjourn, I wish to advise the following City of Brampton proclamations have been made on behalf of Council. The Day of Remembrance and Action on Islamophobia, Black History Month, the coldest night of the year week. Council is next scheduled to meet Wednesday, February 20th, 2019 at 9:30 a.m. and Wednesday, March 6th, 2019 at 9:30 a.m. I have a motion by Councillor Willens, seconded by Councillor Bowman, to adjourn today's meeting. I know you may be upset to adjourn, but all those in favor? Motion carries.